kings winning this fight tonight with our name lit up in lights. We are the new kings. This is our time to shine. Set it off like dynamite.
Friday Night Stars, presented by Whataburger, is brought to you by Texas Lottery. Play the Dallas Cowboys scratch ticket today. It's your ticket for a chance to win big. And by Whataburger. Head over to your hometown Whataburger and try the Patty Melt. They may not have been the first to think up this classic sandwich, but they put a pretty tasty spin on it.
Yes, it's one of the best football weekends of the year. It's the best football weekend of the year around here, but we're talking college football. In most years it is. It's not this year for us Oklahoma Sooners, but this is Friday Night Stars. We're talking high school football. We got some rivalry matchups this weekend once again. Week number 7 of the high school season, and now we're really into district play. Bill Jones with Kyle Youmans, the voice of Frisco ISD High School. Got a couple more games to call this week.
Absolutely, a couple more games. You mentioned it, Oklahoma playing Texas at the Cotton Bowl, Red River Shootout, but I know this is a therapy session for you and the Oklahoma fans that are out there, because Texas high school football is therapy to everybody, especially on a Thursday and a Friday. A lot of fun this weekend, even for those that are going to that Texas OU matchup.
Well, and it's funny that you mentioned OU and their loss to TCU last week. 55-24. On the heels of that TCU win, we lead to our Whataburger game of the week, and they made a big-time offer to a big-time running back with the Duncanville Panthers. Duncanville playing Waxahachie. The District 11 6A showdown, 4-1 Indians, 4-0 Panthers, and that is our Whataburger game of the week.
Yeah, and you mentioned Caden Durham, and what he's done as the running back for Duncanville has been absolutely fantastic. It's almost impossible to say that Duncanville is under the radar, but they're 4-0, and they've started really showing off some of that talent lately, but they're coming off of a bye week. It's because of the expectation you have for the Panthers program throughout their years. They've got wins over South Oak Cliff, Cedar Hill, Jones High School, which is out of Florida, but they put up 44+ in their last 3 games. They're coming off of that bye week, and they always win the battles in the trenches, which is what they're going to have to do against Waxahachie. The Indians coming in with a ton of talent on the outside. They've got multiple Division I recruits for Waxahachie, and a team that is a little under the radar themselves. 4-1. Their only loss came last week against DeSoto. That was a team that was able to outshoot them. Duncanville's going to try and out-physical them and outplay them from a toughness standpoint. I think Waxahachie, little to be known, has a shot in this ball game because they may have the best player on the field. Calvin Simpson Hunt, 4-star commit to Ohio State. The only problem is that he's not a skills player. He's out there on the edge. He's playing cornerback. He's going to be really good in the passing game. He's going to have to make a play or two as the best player on the field to kind of combat some of that firepower on the outside and the physicality from Duncanville.
He is the Jalen Ramsey. We're going to take it to the Rams versus Cowboys this weekend. He's the Jalen Ramsey for Waxahachie. And on the Duncanville side, like the Cowboys, they lost their starting quarterback, Jameer Willis, in the first game of the season. And coming through for them is the sophomore quarterback, Keelan Russell.
Yeah, and Keelan Russell starting to find a rhythm as well, because it's been that ground and that pound all the way through back and forth for Duncanville for years underneath Coach Samples. They still have that, but if they're going to have success against Waxahachie, yes, you're going to have to run the football, but you're going to have to get out to the edge as well, because that's where Waxahachie is strong. And if you can take away their strength, much like Duncanville does all the time, they're going to have a lot of success here in week 7 of the season.
And by the way, Duncanville has Micah Parsons on their side, too. That would be the junior edge rusher, Colin Simmons, who is the #1 ranked edge rusher in the nation for the 2024 class. All right, let's take you to Tarrant County for matchup number 2, and that would be, this is a rivalry game. These two schools located just down the road from each other on 1709 South Lake and Keller. It's the Keller Indians against the South Lake Carroll Dragons, a battle of unbeatens.
Yeah, and District 4 6A looks like it's getting better and better every year. Keller is a big part of that because they have turned into a legitimate program at that 5-0 mark. But everybody that has played the #3 Carroll Dragons throughout this season, they're just saying, thank goodness September has ended, because they were outscored 198-13 by the Dragons in the month of September alone. I was talking to somebody around the Texas high school football scene today, and they said that this South Lake team is the most put together team as a whole in the entire state of Texas. So keep that in mind moving forward, because you don't have that big star power. They just have a bunch of guys overall like Owen Allen, who returns and he helps that defense out by eating up some clock, eating up yardage, and driving down the field. This is a team that's found a rhythm on defense, and they've really definitely built an identity in terms of running the football behind that man, Owen Allen.
Owen Allen, who should be recruited more so than he is, has over 6,000 yards rushing in his high school football career, a 4-year starter for the Carroll Dragons. All right, let's take you down to Class 5A, and it's District 3, 5A, Division 2, and it's unbeaten Lake Dallas, the Falcons, sort of a neighborhood matchup as they take on the Argyle Eagles, who are unbeaten as usual, even though they've moved up in classification to 5A this year.
Yeah, we just talked about District 4, 6A looking better and better. How about the 4 undefeateds in 3, 5A? These are 2 of those. Emerson and Independence, who we'll talk about a little bit later on, join Lake Dallas and Argyle and what they're able to do. How about Lake Dallas coming off of an overtime comeback win last week against Frisco Memorial? This is their best start they've had since 2007. So they've taken advantage of a really good really good group of underclassmen, very talented on the edge, and then some offensive linemen that they're able to run behind. That's how they've built this. But this is the toughest test that they've had so far because their next 3 combined opponents in the next 3 weeks combined 18-0 coming into week 7 of the Texas high school football season. Looking at Argyle, though, they continue to play well. Like you said, moving up from 4A to 5A, they've been absolutely fantastic of throwing the football around. I really like the threat on the outside with Will Hodson. He's been a little banged up over the last couple of weeks, but R.J. Bunnell on the ground has over 750 yards and 11 touchdowns himself. So though they don't have their top outside threat, they're still able to run it through the middle as well.
And by the way, the son of the great Todd Van Poppel, Riley Van Poppel, plays for that Argyle Eagle team, and he is a Nebraska commit. All right, some other notable games around the area. How about the season that Weatherford and L.D. Bell have put together? And you got Cedar Hill, Mansfield, you got Denton Ryan and Burleson Centennial. What sticks out to you, those 3 games?
Yeah, I'm looking at that Weatherford and L.D. Bell team. That Bell team hasn't made the playoffs since 2013. They're off to a great start this season. I really think they're going to continue to fight to get back into the mix, and Weatherford's their toughest test of the season as well. So if they can stand up at home coming up tomorrow night at 7:30 against Weatherford, they're going to have a really good shot. And then moving down, Denton Ryan and Burleson Centennial. It's crazy that Burleson Centennial's the undefeated going into that matchup, but they have earned it over 51 points per game. Can that keep up against Denton Ryan and what that defense has always done underneath Dave Hennigan?
And for you Oklahoma fans in town, you might want to check out that game, Ryan and Burleson Centennial, because the OU running back commit Caleb Hicks for Denton Ryan leads the way for the Raiders. We're just getting started on this edition of Friday Night Stars. When we come back, it's the showdowns at the Star this week.
This segment was brought to you by Whataburger. Head over to your hometown Whataburger and try the Patty Melt. They may not have been the first to think up this classic sandwich, but they put a pretty tasty spin on it. This segment is brought to you by Texas Lottery. Play the Dallas Cowboys scratch ticket today. It's your ticket for a chance to win big.
We're just moments away from another showdown at the Star. Tonight, 7 o'clock, Lebanon Trail against unbeaten Reedy. And then on Friday night, another showdown at the Star at 7 o'clock inside Ford Center here at the Star in Frisco. It's Emerson and Memorial, and that Emerson team, an unbeaten record, Kyle Youmans.
Yeah, that's one way to start your varsity debut as a program, is go out and start 6-0. I'm really excited. It's the first time I've gotten to see the Emerson Mavericks, and just in watching film last week, they're very big, physical program, and then Memorial on the other side. They've got some speed. I think it's going to be a pretty fun little matchup on Friday night.
Okay, well, take me to the Thursday night game, because on paper you look at a winless team against an unbeaten team, but you're going to tell me something about the Trailblazers of Lebanon Trail that I really like.
It really has been a tough season to start things off for Lebanon Trail, a team in the Blazers that continues to try and find their first win, and they've got an uphill battle to climb against Reedy heading into this week. Reedy, a top 10 team in the state. However, there's some added confidence from head coach Saad Jackson thanks to the defensive side of the football. Edge rusher Gabe Robinson has begun making a name for himself. He had 4 sacks last week as he continues to relish his opportunities and continue to grow in the sport and the opportunities that he loves.
And it's a game I'm very passionate about. I grew up on football since about first grade. I started in first grade till now, so it's just been a big part of my life. it's super competitive in Texas, especially in Frisco. You know, there being about 13 high schools, so it's pretty competitive. I love my teammates. They've been here for me, so kind of grew up super close to these guys. Coach Jackson, he's been a big impact on my life. He's taught me a lot of stuff. He's helped put me in a position where I think I can be successful to further my football career. Man, I love the Stars. Nothing better than playing at the Star, man. Cowboys, I love the Cowboys. That's my home team growing up. So, you know, I love the Star.
He made the Cowboys proud last week playing at Ford Center. That defense for Lebanon Trail kept them within striking distance. They were tied in the middle of the third quarter, 6-6, had held Heritage to just one touchdown, and then they blocked a PAT to keep it within striking distance. Then Heritage, one of the better teams, really, they came in 4-1. They left 5-1, put up 21 unanswered points in the second half alone. But there's a lot on the table for Coach Jackson. If that defense can keep them close against Reedy and their offense finally takes advantage of some of their chances to finish off drives, they were able to move the football mostly on the ground. If they can run it effectively like they did last week behind their big offensive line and finish off drives in the red zone, they may have a chance for an upset, but they need everything to go right.
And how special it is for all those Frisco ISD athletes to be able to play games here at the Star in Frisco inside Ford Center. When we continue here on Friday Night Stars, some more showdowns to look at, including some big ones on this very night. Thursday Night Stars are out tonight.
This segment was brought to you by Texas Lottery. Play the Dallas Cowboys scratch ticket today. It's your ticket for a chance to win big. This segment is brought to you by Whataburger. Head over to your hometown Whataburger and try the Patty Melt. They may not have been the first to think up this classic sandwich, but they put a pretty tasty spin on it.
Welcome back to Friday Night Stars, and yes, there are Thursday Night Stars out tonight. We've got a full slate of games pretty much all around the area. A lot of teams had bye weeks last week. Kyle Youmans, what do you like from these Thursday notable games?
I'm looking at that one right there at the top. Rockwall Heath and Tyler Legacy, two very talent-rich programs in at least the traditional sense of the word, but this year they've kind of been on a downturn. It's hard to believe with Rockwall Heath being 4-2, and I'm calling it a down year for what they've been bringing to the table, but especially for Tyler Legacy, two teams trying to get back on track and get back in the win column. And then, of course, anytime you have some crosstown showdowns like that with Richardson and Richardson Pierce going up against each other, that's always going to be a fun matchup. I'm looking forward to that one.
Let me ask you this. Our producer, Dandy Colleen, a Richardson High grad, who you going with in that Richardson?
You know what? I love this job, and I love doing this show, so I'm going to say Richardson's getting the job done. Go Richardson High.
Despite their loss earlier this season to my MacArthur Cardinals.
Oh, you just wanted to bring that up. That's what this was about.
Speaking of Cardinals, we have Melissa against Mesquite Poteet, a 7-5A Division II showdown tonight.
Yeah, and I really like Melissa. Just like their tradition has been, it's taking care of the football and attacking through the air. They don't turn it over a whole lot, but they can put up some big-time numbers, and they certainly can air it out, and they're going to try and do that again against a Poteet defense that struggled at times throughout the season. All
right, and so that's in District 7-5A Division II. Also in Class 5A, what a showdown we had last week, a rivalry game. It was Grapevine against Colleyville Heritage, and how about the performance for Grapevine High running back Parker Polk last Friday night? The 5'7" senior ran for 197 yards, 3 touchdowns, leading the Mustangs to a 44-26 win over Colleyville Heritage. This season, Polk has 806 yards rushing, 8 touchdowns. His first season as a running back, Polk was a receiver his sophomore and junior years, and he's making the most of the position change.
They're a good defense. I think it came down to our O-line just dominated. The middle of the line just dominated. The holes were huge, so I just trusted my line and ran it up the.
You know, that's what Parker does. You know he's going to show up. He's going to put in the work during the week. He's put in the work during the summer. He runs. He might be a little guy, but he's got a big heart, and he is tough as a boot. And he's our bell cow.
What a great win for Mike Alexander's Grapevine Mustangs. Again, the Battle of the Red Rail, and Kirk Martin does such a good job at Colleyville Heritage as well. Grapevine, their only loss on the season against Argyle, and so it's going to be interesting to see what Grapevine does down the road this year.
Well, and of course the lower third there said eyeing a district title. That was a big step because Colleyville Heritage came in on a high note. They were looking like they were a high-powered offense themselves, and then that defense outside of the run game was able to shut the Panthers down. So credit to Parker Polk, but let's give some praise to the defensive side of the football for the Mustangs because they played exceptional ball in that rivalry game last week.
All right, when we come back here on Friday Night Stars, it's our Power Programs of the Week.
Never let people, stray you away from your dreams. If you feel like you can really do it, if you believe in yourself, and you work hard and put the work behind it, anything is possible. Growing up in high school, I played with a lot of guys that I played Little League football with, so it was kind of like a big family already before we got to high school, and just being able to play with guys that you've been growing up with. So it's definitely a good experience.
Tony Pollard of the Dallas Cowboys, a product of Melrose High School in Memphis, Tennessee. Proof that you don't have to play high school football in Texas to make it in the NFL. Some from Tennessee actually make it as well.
Yeah, it's mostly Texas, though. Let's be real.
Right.
I mean, Texas high school football is different. He knows that. Everybody knows that. Dorrance Armstrong even said it last week.
Yeah, and Tony got here as quick as he
Yeah,
could,
he
like
did.
so many
Yeah.
Texans who have moved in here. All right, it's time for our Power Programs of the Week. Kyle Youmans, what are you going with this week?
Yeah, I like this one a lot because I love defense in high school football. This is the touchdown or less club from week 6 of the high school football season. And these aren't even all the names, but these are the big names in big games. Denton Ryan, Aledo, Denton Geyer, Frisco Reedy, Louisville. That was probably the biggest one, shutting down Coppell to just 3 points in that rivalry matchup outside of the district, and then Prosper there at the end. But I can mention a whole slew of teams that got the job done defensively. R.L. Turner, Eastern Hills out of Fort Worth, Liberty Christian, Argyle Liberty Christian, that is, led by one Jason Witten, that of course played his football right here with the Dallas Cowboys. Aubrey, Whitesboro, tons of teams getting the job done defensively, but I wanted to highlight those sides of the ball.
You know what we need to do? We need to get out to Argyle and Liberty Christian High School and feature Jason Witten's team.
Do we just need to do the show out there? We can do that too.
That's a great idea too. He's having a great second season at the head of the program at Liberty Christian. All right, my Power Programs this week, I'm going with Panthers. All Panthers. They're all unbeaten Panthers. In Class 6A, you got the Duncanville High Panthers and the North Crowley Panthers. You've got these Midlothian Panthers, and out west, you go out 114 and you run across Paradise. Yes, Paradise is out there. The Panthers of Paradise High School, who take on Boyd this week at 6-0 on the season. By the way, for those Panther programs, they got some big matchups. We talked about the Whataburger Game of the Week. Duncanville Panthers against Waxahachie. North Crowley plays Boswell, and that is a battle of unbeatens in District 3 6A.
Don't ask me about my Midway Panthers. Don't ask me about that one. They're not on that list for a reason. They're down in Waco. They're getting back on track. They got a district win this past week, but it's a rough start to the season for my Midway Panthers. They're going to figure it out. I like what Shane Anderson's doing there.
Not as rough a season as for the Carolina Panthers, right?
No, it's actually probably about the same. Yeah, it hasn't been great for Midway. But I do agree. I think a lot of those teams, especially North Crowley, that's a team that's not supposed to be there or hasn't been there in quite some time. They continue to play good football, and I really like it when you see coaches that have been at one spot for a while start having some success and really instilling some of their values. That's a good boost to their confidence moving into the rest of the season.
And the other thing that's happening in Crowley is they've got a brand new stadium there that North Crowley and Crowley High School have debuted this season. So get out to Crowley, North Crowley and Boswell this week. All right, coming up, it will be our Landry Award nominees for this week.
Friday Night Stars, presented by Whataburger, was brought to you by Texas Lottery. Play the Dallas Cowboys scratch ticket today. It's your ticket for a chance to win big. And by Whataburger. Head over to your hometown Whataburger and try the Patty Melt. They may not have been the first to think up this classic sandwich, but they put a pretty tasty spin on it.
Final couple of minutes here of Friday Night Stars, and as we do every week, it's our Landry Award watch list for this week. Of course, we present the Landry Award to the top player in North Texas at the end of the season. We're looking at the area receiving leaders. Jerian Wallace out of Braswell High School in Denton. There's one of my fellow MacArthur Cardinals on the list, Jerbrandon Henderson, who, by the way, had 7 catches for 275 yards and 5 touchdowns. Kyle, I'm pretty sure he is the first Jerbrandon to ever play for the MacArthur Cardinals.
And he should continue to be on Landry Award watch list if he puts up numbers like that. That's Bill Jones type of numbers if he's able to play.
I'm thinking he might have set the school record last week.
Probably a pretty good bet.
You saw the run-oriented, the ground-oriented MacArthur Cardinals of my day, but there were some pretty good guys on that list.
That's the thing that I was going to point out is these are programs, Plano East, MacArthur, Denton, Braswell, that are traditional run-heavy teams. They rely on the ground game to open things up offensively, but instead they're airing it out. They're finding some guys on the edge, and hey, they're taking advantage. And the Landry Award has seen a couple of wide receivers win it, most notably and most recently Jackson Smith and Jigba, who's out there at Ohio State, a little banged up right now, but still very much so in the conversation as a top draft pick in the next couple NFL drafts. So there's been some pass catchers on that list.
That's right. JoJo Earl from Aledo as well, who's at Alabama, and Jake Oliver, who may still hold the Texas high school football receiving record. He played at Texas, of course, and at Jesuit in Dallas. All right, that does it for Friday Night Stars for this week. For Kyle Youmans, I'm Bill Jones, and we will see you again next week as we will preview already week number 8 of the high school football season. Where is this season going?